As you've heard the news about the Manchester bombing that occurred this evening and the terror attack, what made this really difficult to report about is the injuries from Sky News. 19 dead in Manchester. And this report comes from Jack Wallace and Simmons from the Daily Mail. He explained what kind of injuries, and immediately these injuries were consistent of a type of bomb and what type of bomb, because when you hear his report about how many people had reported from within, they were pulling people out and their faces were mutilated, and the injuries were consistent of a nail bomb, which that didn't come to me right away, but when I looked at the Drudge report, I noticed that report. That's exactly what it is. We'll show you that here in a moment, the headlines for Drudge. I got the report from a reporter directly. I really didn't want to report about this because I wasn't too sure, about touching on breaking news, because I'd like to wait, but it was pretty evident that this was a nail bomb. And let me just let the tape roll here for a moment. But when you hear this, and that was breaking news, and we usually wait like a couple hours, wait till the full story comes out, because I don't like to just jump to conclusions after what we've been through with some of these news reports, but, reporting it is important. So let's go ahead and go to that, Drudge, so you can see. When you hear about people being pulled out and their faces mutilated, it's obvious that these are the reports, and that was what they saw on the ground, and of course the headlines here at Drudge. And again, I'm thinking to myself, how do we make this jump? You go out, and now some of these girls might be dead, or I don't know, maybe boys. I mean, anyone. Who knows? And I think of them as kids, because they are kids, and their lives are forever changed. And I guess what I've come away with, and many people like this, is that these countries are being slowly conditioned to accept Islam. So these injuries, how do we approach this? Because this is unacceptable. Why a country will allow themselves to be at the mercy of Islamic radical terrorism, and that's the profile. There's no getting around it. These are the reports, and then this is what ends up happening, and it's been the same story over and over again, and the same story over and over again, and it always ends up eventually. This has been the pattern. The media won't report exactly who it is, and then we find out that it is an Islamic terrorist with Middle Eastern background, and this is how we end up here, and how we supposed to report it, because they won't report it correctly. We always have to wait for the whole description. I mean, the whole point to doing police work, which has been a problem in itself, you got to get a profile of who they're looking for, and this unifies people. The one thing that has divided people is how this has been reported, and I'm sorry if we're reluctant to report because of that reason. Because we're always waiting until they get finished telling their version of the truth. They won't tell any part of the truth. They cut it up, they edit it, and you just have to report it the way it is. But that's the report that was from Fox News, and now some of the other reports I saw, some other YouTube channels. We try to get the mainstream view of it, and then we try to get the alt media and try to weigh in on both. I always like to hold back, but it's obvious when you look at those injuries consistent of what now we know is a nail bomb. It's obvious these are the kind of injuries, and these are soft targets. That's what they've referred to them as. Anywhere where the guard is down, in this case, a concert. Next time it'll be a school. Who knows what injuries we have to deal with. Which, of course, that leads us to talk about soft targets. And because it's soft targets, because they are everywhere, and meaning you as a parent, or you as somebody that's an adult or a guardian, you know that when you send your kids off to a school bus, school, any program that involves a lot of children, campgrounds, anything, obviously, I don't go out like I used to. I mean, my life has been changed by these events. I mean, over time, you realize less and less that the more terrorism, the less freedom we have, because you would have to literally go out and have a handgun to protect yourself, because more and more it's increasing, and this is what has been predicted, that the more these events occur, the more consistent they will be. Starting to see a pattern. And now in the case of situational awareness, really, people cannot afford it to be distracted, and it's too easy now because you have cell phones. We live in a microwave society. We sense we have to respond to that ad or that message that comes up on our phone, and the whole thing is to shut it off. If you can't trust yourself to not answer that message while you're driving, then you need to shut it off. Just for the fact of surviving this. These girls are now in a situation, and I don't know if it's just girls, if it's boys, if it's Z, he, she, the, I don't know how many sexes we're dealing with here, but I'm just saying, these people are going home now with these type of injuries. And that's what startled me initially because of the description of these injuries. So is it a difference of your face being mangled? I mean, we do not know, but I can tell you, many of us complain over a hangnail. These are pretty serious injuries. And the death toll, I hope it doesn't climb. But these are the kind of things that can save your life now. Okay, these people could not have known it was dark. They're going to a concert, so already they were blindsided by this type of bomb. And that's the reality we face, is that we can't afford to be blindsided, even if we're trying to go out and have fun. I'm pretty sure that most people know this by now, but I mean, it's obvious that you just can't go out and just have a good time at the risk of not taking these measures, security measures, knowing that when you go out, you have to have, you just got to go through this checklist. Now you have to have a mental checklist, or write it down. Just say, okay, boom, boom, boom. If you have to go to the store, make sure you get back quick enough. Stay close to home. These are kind of things you have to live. You almost are restricted till they make sure they get these kind of problems under control. But at least in the United States, you still have the liberty to get out and do things. The thing is, it will be here as long as you have terrorism and you have people that are going to set off bombs. I mean, this is the reality. And the only really defense you really have is not be in a dark place at a time like that. I'm sure they weren't thinking about that. I'm sure they were thinking like they were going out to have a good time. But knowing the track record in the UK, now this has become more common. So it's almost as if it is a matter of survival to be aware. In a lot of cases, people think it's Armageddon. But we know it's deviant. We know it's dangerous. And we know it's irresponsible to not take all the precautions necessary. People should be armed and ready for any event like this, especially if you have kids. It's just the way it is. And that is what disturbs me about these reports, is that you don't even know how to report it. They're not even in a position to arm themselves. I mean, innocent young people are dead or injured now, and it's because that people really don't have even rights of their own life to defend themselves. They are literally defenseless. You leave anybody in a dark place and you can't find your way out. I mean, this is the reality we live in. So situational awareness is an absolute for survival, obviously, and knowing other self-defense mechanisms. As far as I'm concerned, counterterrorism is a huge thing. So if you have a camera phone, to always turn the cameras on it. I mean, that's your only good chance at catching the criminals, literally. Because if the media can't report it, then at least you have a way of reporting. Not all media reporters would ever do that, but there are some media companies, they've really distorted the truth, and they distorted the information that really for the purpose of self-defense, initial home security. I mean, this is the one way to catch somebody in the act, and at least in this situation here, they had plenty of cameras going, and obviously the outcome, of course, is the same common headline stories. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that dangers around you, especially when it comes to the religion of peace. And see, the Islamic religion wants everyone to believe that they're about peace, and obviously another case of Islamic terrorism.